Yeah, so I think it's kind of, we call it like unfacilitated connection because we don't want it to feel like it's forced, but it's like creating those moments where you can have like organic connections. Like, we get up early, we have our slow mornings, those sunrise swims, those, paddleboard into a little cove all together and having like a sunset cocktail and all of these things. It just enables like that natural, like, conversation. You find like on that sail in Ibiza, there were so many deep and meaningful chats going on at different points on the yacht and different points in the week. It's really quite magical.
Hello, everybody, and a huge welcome to the Travel Leaders Podcast, where we go behind the scenes of the global travel industry to meet people driving innovation, service, and change. So today's episode is based around redefining luxury, and I have the joy and pleasure of being joined by Lucy Greenhill, the founder of the Nautica Collective. Lucy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's great to be here, Gemma.
Yay,
Really great to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to see you. I'm happy to have you on the podcast today because obviously our pre-chat just got me so fired up to have a longer discussion. So I know this is going to be a special one. You've got a really interesting background, actually, from building brands in Ibiza to now curating immersive sailing experiences through the business that you have created. So I love how you've created something that blends community, escapism, and it's actually got depth and soul. So before we dive into today's topic, redefining luxury, connection, community, and the magic of the in-between, would you be able to start by sharing your journey and how you went from the Ibiza brand world to redesigning these incredible experiences on the water?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll try and keep it brief and kind of give you a bit of a helicopter overview in a couple of minutes. But I think it's good to go back to right to the beginning, to when I was actually 18, went on holiday to Ibiza, went to a gig at Ibiza Rocks, at the Ibiza Rocks bar, fell in love with the brand, like absolutely loved what they were doing. They were super disruptive at the time, taking indie music to the White Isle, typically like Electronic Island. So yeah, went to that event, dug around, found out who the owner of Ibiza Rocks was, reached out to him and basically pestered him until he gave me a job to come
That's
back
what I
out.
do. Persistence pays off, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So yeah, persisted until I managed to get a job the next summer. Went out and I was a travel rep for Ibiza Rocks, well, rep for their events. And we really spotted an opportunity at the time. Everyone was coming out to the island to go to our events. So really spotted an opportunity that this could be more of a travel business than just a, a gig kind of events company. And it was when music travel hadn't really kicked off. There wasn't that many like international festivals and things like there is now. So they were really like pioneering then.
Yeah.
So yeah, came on board to help them create that travel arm of the business. And we took it from nothing to in a couple of years, turning over 6 million and being the biggest like youth travel operator at the time. Really exciting time.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, it was incredible. And that was actually when I met my now co-founder at Nautica, Gez. So he came on board. He actually built the Mallorca arm of the business. So after Ibiza, we had 3 hotels there. We then went into Mallorca, launched 2 hotels, and Gez run the operation over there. Stayed with the business for sort of 7.5 years. We launched a snow festival, a festival in Croatia. So really kind of rode that wave of music travel there.
Wow, I love that about the experiences. So a snow festival was in skiing, music festival, all intertwined.
Yeah, they only did it 1 year actually in Maribel, and then kind of focused back on the summer product. But
Right.
yeah, it was a really incredible experience. But yeah, after being there for sort of 7.5 years, I fancied a change, needed a fresh challenge, which was when I joined Day 8, which was a company a group company that owned the Yacht Week and the Ski Week. So that was kind of where my love, I always had like a passion for being by the ocean and stuff, but really that kind of love of sailing was really kind of born working for that business. And they organise big flotilla, so big group experiences, so multiple yachts and like group experiences on the water and on the mountains. So, we did ski events in Obertown, Aspen, Japan, all over the world, and sailing experiences. We took some weeks 150 yachts, so that was sort of 1,500 people we took to Croatia, all sailing together.
Wow,
Yeah, so
that's incredible.
yeah, it was another incredible experience. Again, stayed with that business for 7 years. I think I had like a 7-year itch or something when it
Yeah,
comes to companies. But yeah, took the company through COVID, which was obviously really challenging, having
yeah,
people out in
absolutely.
resort. We had people in the Caribbean stranded during COVID. So yeah, it was a really challenging time. But I learned a lot there. And another thing that really I kind of discovered was really the power of community there.
Yeah,
We took all these huge groups away and they would go away together year after year. There was real friendships that were born over these travel experiences, particularly like trying something new, like skiing or going on the water.
okay,
Um, so yeah, really spotted how powerful community was. And it was then when I was working for that business and Gez at the time was working for Flashpack, which I don't know if you know Flashpack, but it's a boutique travel operator. They specify like their niche is solo travel for people in their 30s and 40s. So
okay,
Gez was working for them and I was working for the Yacht Week and really just spotted a gap in the market. Yacht Week was great at what it did, but they were very youth focused. It was very party focused, big groups. And then you had the other end of the spectrum in sailing was your super yachts. So people,
okay,
going on, I don't know, 50 grand upwards experiences per week. And there was nothing really in the middle that was like the flashback almost on the water. That was a kind of boutique curated experience for people that had outgrown like the party kind of
yeah,
lifestyle. So yeah, really spotted a gap in the market. We talked about it for about 5 years. It was 5 years in the making. We pitched the idea to a number of businesses that we worked with at the time, those businesses, but then also some other businesses we were consulting for. It never quite got picked up. So yeah, last year at one of Gez's legendary barbecues, we after a few too many gin and tonics, we decided we were going to take the plunge and launch the business for ourselves and just really go for it. So yeah, gives you a little bit of a flavor
that
of
is
our experience.
mind. I know I keep on saying the word incredible. I promise I'll stop at some point. But for
I
someone
love
who,
it.
I'm a travel lover, so I sit on the other side, just seeing the operations and the works that goes into what you're bringing together and just your journey as well, which sounds one of like grit, resilience. I'm sure it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows all of the time. So, and I'm sure you've picked up all the good bits and the bad bits on your journey to get to where you've got to today. So it's really genuinely so admirable. So it's great to hear that part. So I wanted to move on to how luxury has changed because you actually said something on our call before that really struck me, that the perception of luxury has actually changed. It's no longer about the flashy hotels or the big brands, but about authenticity and undiscovered places. What do you think has driven that shift?
I think it started, well, for me, where I noticed it was kind of post COVID, I think.
Yeah.
People being locked up and not being able to travel, I think they really appreciated like the ability to be able to go and see these different places. And I think the freedom of going to explore, and I think people's perceptions changed. I think you look at a lot of our audience with Nautica are like millennials and Gen Z. And I think it gets thrown around quite a bit, this new like experience economy. And those generations, they are less flashy. They value less value on material things. It's more about experiences and connections and things like that. So I think, that audience and then like sort of post COVID, I think as well, like again, another buzzword, I hate to throw them all in, but it's like, burnout's quite a big thing, isn't it? For all generations at the minute. And I feel like people are a little bit burnt out almost about like go into these hotspots where you've got to queue for hours to get this one shot of this like amazing tourist hotspot or Instagrammable
Yeah,
spot. So I think like, the luxury is in like the escapism and going to these undiscovered places where it's not a big flashy 5-star hotel. It's, an undiscovered cove or, an island maybe that there's not that much tourism there.
I
I
agree.
think,
And also, like, travelers are just craving something deeper,
yeah.
more emotional connection, more meaning, perhaps, I found. So, yeah. And so, how do you translate that into the experiences that you curate at Nautica?
I think a big part of what we wanted to create with Nautica is like that kind of small group feel. So you could do exactly what you're saying there. You could go and see a destination really authentically. Like our trips are between 1 and 5 yachts. So they're kind of 8 to maximum 40 people. We haven't even got a trip at the moment that's gone with 40 people. It's sort of been the 30, 32 mark. So
Yeah.
I think keeping the group dynamic, keeping the group smaller so you have that really intimate dynamic and you can go to a lot of these untouched spots. I think partnering with like local businesses, like we really try and create experiences where we can go and use like local people in the destination, whether that's, some of the excursions that we do, the yachts that we charter, the hosts that we use on our trip is trying to bring some authenticity in it. So you're not just partnering, like you think you can go to like a global hotel chain and sometimes you're not getting an authentic experience. So, but we really try and put that sort of thread through everything we do.
Yeah.
And I think we spoke about it a bit on our last call about kind of creating these micro moments throughout the week, so going to like a nice secluded bay and just opening up parts of a destination that people haven't seen on social media, they maybe haven't heard of, but it's something that will stay with them after the experience.
Absolutely. I love that idea. It's really exciting. And you have also spoke about already slightly about community. And so going on the subject of community and the rise of connection travel, even as a mum, I'm on the other end of the spectrum. But I remember in my 30s, which I was like, oh my God, my life is this, that, and the other. We went on a girls' trip to Zanzibar. And
Oh,
it
wow.
was about 7 single girls. At the time I was living in Dubai, and it was this big blowout trip that we all had. And when I look back, like, there was nothing like what you're doing now around, and we just had to piece every single thing together. But I met one of the girls last a couple of months ago in Manchester. Basically, one of the girls on the trip, she's back in Manchester, I'm back in London. And so I met her for coffee and she was like, do you remember how special that trip actually was? And
Mm.
she's gone on to go on more of the types of trips that you're actually now describing, not at such a luxury level, but it got me thinking that even though she's actually married, she felt that she belonged with trips with other solo travelers at a more premium level. So there's definitely a theme there. And I back to my point, this was one of the best trips of my life. Don't tell my
Yeah.
husband and kids. It really was like Zanzibar. What was it? 2015 will stick with
Wow.
me forever. And I just love that bonding time. We obviously got a vehicle where we could do something a bit more off the beaten track. Maybe before it was, you got the picture at the Rock, but it's probably on Facebook now because it wouldn't be.
Before Insta,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But I'm very much into this. So sorry, just a bit off piece there.
No, I love
I
it. I
love
mean,
the
Zanzibar's definitely on the hit list for us as well because you can sail there. So
just
yeah, I'll
gorgeous,
be tapping you
really.
up.
Absolutely. So, one of your ideas I love is obviously the rise of community-based travel, especially as a response to the loneliness,
Mm.
particularly in people in their 30s and 40s. Not everyone, but a few, and it's okay. I would openly say there's been moments in both of those age groups that I've had that and experienced that. Um, so to my point, why are people, do you think, and why are travelers suddenly craving shared experiences again? I do think you've touched on it. Um, and how do you intentionally build the sense of community amongst your guests who may not know each other before the trip? Like, what do you do?
Well, we kind of, it sounds bad saying like vet people, but we do speak to people in advance of once they've booked in advance of putting them together in a group, just to make sure that we can really create that dynamic where people are going to gel. And it's getting that right balance because you don't want everyone to be the same because you want people to, sometimes when you get like different generations, different interests, you really get a really great group that has an incredible experience together. But we do some kind of questions from our travel experts to make sure that we can build that optimal dynamic.
Oh,
And
okay.
then on the trips as well, we have our hosts who really curate the experience like on the water. So they're on the yachts with the guests. And we really create, I mean, we touched on it before about like more like slow travel. So we don't like cram pack the itinerary. So you've got to like, tick boxes as you go. There's really a lot of space in the itinerary to adjust it. So based on that group dynamic. So, we have like slow mornings is one of our things. So you can enable people to have those moments together to really connect, and
Yeah.
just having that flexibility in the itinerary as well to enable, if there's a group of people that want to go off and do an excursion together, you really can like fulfill that and make
Yeah,
sure
of
that you're really
course.
optimizing what takes place on the trip. So I think it's kind of creating those micro moments. And I think coming back to what we were saying before as well, like sailing naturally is like some people that haven't done it find it quite scary. It's like skiing. It's like, there's kind of a bit of I guess nervousness isn't the right word, but a little bit of anxiety, I guess, coming on something that you've not done. And I think when people do that and they experience that together, it kind of deepens the bond naturally.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we really lean into that side of things. And then, oh no, you go.
No, no, please, please. I'm loving it.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of, we call it like unfacilitated connection because we don't want it to feel like it's forced, but it's like creating those moments where you can have like organic connections. Like, we get up early, we have our slow mornings, those sunrise swims, those, paddleboard into a little cove all together and having like a sunset cocktail and all of these things. It just enables like that natural, like conversation. You find like on that sail in Ibiza, there were so many deep and meaningful chats going on at different points on the yacht and different points in the week. It's really quite magical. And I think the setting just opens it up because
Yeah.
you're not rushing from A to B and going to a packed, beach club and bar. There's like that space to have those conversations.
Yeah, it's got an element of retreat in it as well, it
Mm,
feels like. But I really love these micro moments that are small and unplanned because they actually end up being the highlight of a trip. And I think you gave
100%.
you've given many examples of how you bring that to life, which is just great. It's something to think about in the future, even if you're doing it on land.
Mm.
Do you think travelers are becoming more aware of these in between parts of the trip, like the quiet coffee, the walk, the sunrise, and just the laughter that you get between stops?
Yeah, I think definitely. And coming back to the point before is like that people are feeling a lot of like burnout. They're not wanting to escape. I think we've seen a shift even with our customers is there's less escapism. It's more, experiencing something, connections and reconnecting with themselves almost. So it's not escaping who you are. It's that kind of reconnection. But yeah, I think it's just having that space for them to be able to do that rather than like I remember before, myself going on adventure experiences and some of the companies I worked with before, it was very much like a tick box in, you've got to go to this island, then this, then this, then this. And people just don't want that now. They want to be able to decompress. They want to be able to kind of curate their own itinerary, although they want everything to be organized. So there is an itinerary, the skipper, the chef, the food is all organized. They still want a bit of flexibility, if they want to spend a bit more time, in this cove or on this island, that they've got that. So
Yeah.
I think it's just getting the right blend of it, really.
So is that they're actively seeking slower itineraries and more like white space, but trying to find the balance between the group?
Yeah, definitely. And I think with people feeling quite overwhelmed, overstimulated, and things like that, I just, we spoke on the last call with this sale that we did in Ibiza. We had so much more planned, but actually the group as a collective wanted to stay in like the one cove that we were in for an extra day because they were just enjoying being together as a group, dining on the yacht, paddleboarding, just all of these things that, we were thinking we'd have to curate so much more and take them on land a lot more. But, that was a big learning for us because that was our first trip that we'd done because we're quite new. We only launched in June. So, yeah, it's been really like even surprised us even more how much people want to like slow down.
Yeah, absolutely. So just for, I'm just going to ask a question because I was wondering when you go on these sails, because I don't know how to sail, by the way, when you spoke about like there would be a chef, and a skipper on these sailing trips, do you have to help out day to day? Like, do I have to pull the rope and stuff like that? Could you explain it for like a dummy's guide to a luxury sailing trip maybe? Because now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, did she mention?
No. So, I mean, the funny thing is actually people actually want to learn. So you don't have to. You absolutely do
I
not
want
have
to
to.
learn,
Yeah.
Luce. Want to get my license for the basics. You know, these people go to like Croatia and they know the basics of how to sail. We've got a friend that can apparently do enough to get you to a small island or something. So now we're talking about it. I'm like, hang on a minute. What do I need to be qualified in any way?
No, I mean, you've got your skipper, you've got your private chef, and then one of our hosts on board. So you really don't have to do anything. But that said, not on the trip in Ibiza, but when I worked for my past company, a lot of guests actually wanted to learn. They wanted to know how to like do the med mooring when you come into a marina. They wanted to understand, what's a fender, what's this, and look at it on autopilot and the rest of it. So the skippers are really up for. I mean, they love it. It's their life. They're like on cloud nine when you ask them to show them like what they're doing and explain a bit more about it. But
Yeah,
you absolutely don't have to. And all your meals on board are included, and all your snacks and drinks and everything. So yeah, you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. But we've also partnered with a couple of different collaborations that we launched, one of which is a culinary retreat. So on that, she does pasta making and teaches you. It's an Italian themed trip. So, we've got different kind of niches that we're leaning into for different trips. So
that's
depending
great.
on what your interest is, maybe we should launch a bit of a sailing educational one. I don't know. It
No,
might be an
that's really
idea.
cool. There's something for everyone. So
For sure.
moving on to the future of luxury and slow travel, looking ahead, where do you see luxury travel going over the next few years?
I think we've touched on everything really. I think people slowing down,
Yeah,
moving away from those like jam-packed itineraries and Instagrammable spots. I think it's slow travel is definitely one. I think it's a big one. I think another buzzword and hot topic, AI. I think people are craving human connection. So I think community travel, we've seen great success with some of the creators and community leaders we've partnered with. They've got
right.
such engaged
Yeah,
communities. I
absolutely.
think
Imagine.
that's a big one. And I guess the other one, which we're really leaning into, is like the kind of low impact travel because sailing is naturally low impact.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's,
You're not
you
constantly on the move and having to move around. No, that's great. And what excites you most about where Nautica is heading next?
I think, like, again, it's the same sort of thing is like we've got some really exciting collaborations in the pipeline. Everyone we've been speaking to about partnering with us gets super excited. So, partnering with these community leaders, just yesterday we had a really exciting meeting and we're building out a couple of itineraries in Africa. So, like, the destinations that we're looking at going to. And I think, yeah, just building, like, opening up this category really to more people, like making sailing and yachting more accessible to like our generation, really. I think, yeah, I mean, so much excites me. I could go on
No,
forever.
that's brilliant. I'm really excited for you, honestly. Lucy, this has been such a rich and inspiring conversation because you've genuinely just reminded me that some parts of travel are the ones that we don't actually plan massively. So, what have you got planned for 2026 for your own personal travel? Somewhere you want to go or suggest that we go?
Oh my God, so many, but on both. I could go on forever, but we've only got a few minutes. I mean,
No, it's fine.
yeah, like micro moments. Again, this is why we put so many into Nautica because I've got so many that I could highlight. But I think a real highlight for me was sailing with my last company. We were actually not on a customer sail. We were like a one of our client sales, we were recce in the British Virgin Islands in the Caribbean. It was just after Hurricane Irma. So we were in a really old kind of rundown yacht. It wasn't anything glamorous at all. And we were sailing around, just scoping out where we could take our clients post hurricane. I got up in the middle of the night, went out on deck, and it was just one of those kind of moments. I don't know if you've been out like in places like that where there's no light pollution. You just kind of look up to the sky. There was millions of stars up there, and just kind of makes you feel so small when you're like out in the ocean and just in the natural environment.
Yeah,
And
you can just
I
be.
think, yeah, it was just one of those moments where I was like, this category like needs to be opened up to other people. Like this is such a special moment. So I think moments like that where you really feel small, you're kind of immersed in in nature. I think like, yeah, just incredible.
Good stuff. Lucy, thank you so much. Finally, very finally, where can listeners find out more about the Nautica Collective or connect with you online?
Yeah, so check out our website, nauticacollective.com, or on Instagram, Nautica Collective. I think, yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can email me at lucy@nauticacollective.com. But yeah, I'd love to hear from anyone, and yeah, anyone that's keen to collaborate or partner with us. We're looking for some great partners to create like epic experiences with. So yeah, it's been
That's
a pleasure.
incredible. Honestly, I wish you all the best of success. Not that you're going to need it, because it sounds like you have got a huge year ahead next year and you've already had a great start. So thanks once again. And hopefully I get to have a drink with you soon.
Yeah, definitely, Gemma. We'll get on that yacht as well.
Brilliant. Thanks,
Thanks so
Lucy.
much. See you later.
Bye.